And then Don Leo Jonathan, he was 6'7", 280 pounds.
Yeah.
And back then, and this guy's doing flying head scissors and leapfrogs. And he was the first big man in wrestling that really, he was the Brody of that time.
Yeah.
Doing kip ups and all kinds of things. So, in fact, Chicago, the museum down there, they own the rights to all those tapes, and I've talked to them, and we'd be able to use them at some point here. I want to utilize them somehow, some way.
Yeah, that'd be great. Oh, that'd be super great. Mm-hmm. You're definitely. Oh man, yeah. You hear about all those names and just the crazy stories. My first taste of that was when I read Terry Funk's book, and he was talking about how he was in the road, like with his dad and his brother Dory and their mom, and like they were in a trailer living, and then they were traveling around like gypsies, like you guys were saying, and stuff like that. And then just all the crazy outlaw people that they ran into and characters and things like that. And it's just like, this is such a fascinating aspect of the business, and there's so many stories to tell. And like, we're definitely darn well going to try to do it justice here on Straight Talk with the Boss for sure. So.
Well, I'm sure, there's some other stories TA and I could tell, but we don't want to get anybody in trouble here.
Don't want to get nobody in trouble, that's for sure.
Because wrestling has some characters.
Oh, yeah.
He was around we both were with some of the greatest talent of all time and personalities. I've told you the Dusty Rhodes story in Minneapolis, where they were shot up the hotel room and the bar. Him and Dick Murdoch, and TA traveled a lot with him, so I'm sure he's got some great stories.
I believe it.
Well, it's funny you bring up the people you run into, because it's something in your aura or your spirit when you've run in that company, it stays with you for life.
Yeah.
And and I see it because my youngest son travels with me and whatnot, and we'll come across some, like somebody that he thinks is sketch or like, just kind of like, it doesn't look just right. And I can look at him and we have this instant understanding. And it's so weird is when you've lived out there on that edge, it's something that people recognize in each other. And you don't ever have to say a word.
You don't.
They just know. And I'm glad to have had that experience. And my son, has a inkling that he would like to be in the business one day. But I'm thankful that it's a little more civilized today than it was, because frankly, I wouldn't want to throw him into that. The way it was back when, because it's not real 2024 friendly.
No, it's not.
No.
Definitely not.
No.
God.
My cat's messing.
It was phenomenal personalities.
Oh my God.
And really off the wall.
Yes.
And when we tell these stories, that's the way it really was. And TA hit it right on the head there. And my boys are the same way. They hear the stories and then they want to, can we meet them? Well, some of these guys aren't around anymore, but they heard them enough that they repeat the stories. And, it's fascinating. And the stuff that happened back in those days, if it happened now, half of them would be in jail.
Right. No, that's the great thing about this genre is like, you hear these stories and you're like, nobody could come up with that. Like you couldn't just make that up, and it's just so outlandish, and it's true. Like a lot of this stuff.
Oh God.
People on the road and everything like
that.
Yeah.
There were some dandies.
No doubt.